Hi everyone, I'm Helen from Susan's family. Today, I'll show you the retro chic cardigan. For this electronic tutorial, you can visit our website by searching for susud.com. This cardigan comes in 3 sizes and has both long and short versions. The making method is almost identical, with only slight differences in the number of rows and stitches in certain sections. They are all made up of the main body, sleeves, and edging. The main body includes 2 front pieces, 2 back pieces, motifs, and hem. Start by working on the main body. Then, pick up stitches from the corresponding areas of the main body to crochet the sleeves. Finally, crochet the edging along the front bands and hem. Let's start with the main body. The 2 front pieces are worked in the same way. The 2 back pieces are also worked in the same way. First, complete the crocheting of the 2 front pieces and the 2 back pieces. Then crochet along certain areas. Match up and join the front and back pieces. After completing this, join the underarms and the shoulders of the front and back pieces. Next, crochet the motifs between the 2 back pieces. Then join the motifs to the back pieces. Continue by crocheting the hem separately. Finally, crochet the waist motifs. Then join them to the front and back pieces as well as the hem. Start by crocheting the front piece. Begin with a foundation chain. Then work back and forth in rows along the chain for a few rows. One side needs to be extended. After that, crochet along the top and side of each row, crocheting back and forth in a rectangular shape. There will be color changes halfway through. The stitches used include chain, double crochet, and DC2 tog. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific crochet method. For convenience in watching, I will randomly use a few colors for the demonstration going forward. For specific yarn, color schemes, and hook sizes, please refer to the detail page of our product and the paper charts. Let's start with the foundation chain. Wrap the yarn tail around your left little finger once. Pass it through between your index finger and middle finger. Then pinch the yarn tail with your thumb and middle finger. Pick up the hook with your right hand. Position it underneath the yarn. Wrap the yarn around counterclockwise. Use your left thumb and middle finger to pinch the crossing point of the loop. Place the hook on the left side of the yarn. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. This slip knot does not count as a stitch. Slightly tighten it gently. The loop on the hook shouldn't be too tight. Now start crocheting chains. Yarn over and draw through. One chain is completed. This braid represents 1 stitch. Continue crocheting chains. Yarn over and pull through. That's the 2nd stitch. Repeat this process. Continue crocheting chains. Keep going until you finish the required number of stitches. Refer to the chart for the exact stitch count. After crocheting the required number of stitches, the foundation chain is complete. At the last chain, place a stitch marker. If you don't have a stitch marker, you can use a safety pin or paperclip instead. Move on to H1. Start with 3 chain as the beginning chain for double crochet. These 3 chains also count as 1 double crochet. Work 2 chains as the spacer next. Then find the 4th chain from the end of the foundation chain. That is, starting from the marker chain. Count from right to left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then insert into the top strand of the corresponding chain. Let me point out the position first here. That is, pick this strand of yarn. Work 1 double crochet here. Yarn over. Insert. Yarn over and draw through. Now there are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops remaining. Yarn over again. And draw through in once. That completes 1 double crochet. On the top right, there is a V-shaped braid. This is the stitch of the double crochet. Crochet 2 chain. Skip 2 chains below. Pick up the next chain. Work 1 double crochet. At this starting point, all stitches are picked up the upper strand of the corresponding chain for insertion. Yarn over. Insert. Yarn over and draw through. Then yarn over and draw through the first 2 loops. Repeat twice. Once. Twice. Complete the double crochet. From this point on, crochet alternately with 1 double crochet and 2 chains. After completing the chains, skip 2 chains below. Continue crocheting. Finish the double crochet at the edges chain. Then continue with a CH2 spacer. Make another double crochet in the same position. Here, 1 chain space equals 1 mesh. In the end, this adds 1 extra mesh. After finishing, check. There should be 7 meshes in this row. At this point, H1 is completed. The side where the stitch texture is relatively neat is the right side. The wrong side has a more blurred texture. Move on to H2. You need to extend it. Here, crochet 3 chains for the extension. Then make 3 chains. Place a marker by picking up 2 loops on the third chain. Crochet with a ch2 spacer next. Turn the piece. Pick up the position of the extended third chain. Locate the wrong side of the chain. Pick up the upper strand. Work 1 double crochet. Then continue with a ch2 spacer. Below, pick up double crochets from the previous row. Make a double crochet in each, with 2 chains between the double crochets. Pay attention when crocheting on the wrong side of the row above. The stitch will be located at the top left. Finish at the last double crochet. Continue crocheting 2 chains as a spacer. Pick up the third chain from the beginning chain of the previous row. That is, the third chain counting leftward at this moment. Pick up the 2 strands of this chain. Work 1 double crochet. At this point, H2 is completed. Everyone, please check the number of meshes. There are 2 more meshes than in the previous row. For the next row, switch colors. Fasten off the yarn. Crochet 1 chain to secure. Leave a little yarn tail. Cut the yarn. Pull it tight. Move on to crochet H3, starting from this row. For size S, crochet in a right angle shape. For size M and size L, continue crocheting back and forth for a few rows. Then crochet in a right angle shape. Here, I'll demonstrate using size S as an example. For other sizes, you can learn the method first. Then refer to the chart and crochet accordingly. Face the wrong side of the previous row toward yourself. Then locate the foundation chain. At the edge chain, which is the spot previously marked with a stitch marker, join the yarn. Pick up the corresponding color and make a slip knit. Insert into the corresponding chain. Pick up the 2 strands of the chain. Draw the loop through. Adjust slightly. Pay attention to ensure the knot doesn't show on the right side. Now, the joining yarn is completed. For size M and size L, follow the same method. On the last stitch of the previous row, pick up the stitch for joining the yarn. Start crocheting. Begin with 3 chains as the beginning chain. Pick up the 2 strands on the 3rd chain and place a marker. Then, crochet 2 chains for spacing. Pick up the top of H1's beginning chain. This is the insertion point for the double crochet. Work 1 double crochet. Next, crochet 2 chains. Below is the edge of H2. Insert into the stitch of the edge double crochet. Follow the pattern of 1 double crochet, 2 chains, and repeat this pattern 4 times. First time. Second time. Third time. Fourth time. After completing it, locate the CH4 space and place a stitch marker there. This is the corner. Pick up the double crochet below. Alternate crocheting double crochets and 2 chains. From here on, all sizes will be the same. Continue crocheting to the beginning chain from the previous row's edge. That is, the spot marked by the stitch marker. Once you reach the corresponding position, work 1 double crochet at the stitch marker. Next, crochet the extended section. Here, you'll make 6 chains. After completing it, place a stitch marker on the edge stitch. When marking chains here, pick up 2 strands of yarn each time. For the next row, you need to change colors. Fasten off. At this point, H3 is completed. Now, let's move on to H4. Place the wrong side of the previous row facing you. Then join the yarn at the chain with the stitch marker. Crochet 2 chains. Then pick up the 3rd chain of the extension. On the back side, pick up 1 strand on the top of the chain and work 1 double crochet. Then pick up the double crochet stitches. Make double crochets evenly. Between double crochets, there is a ch2 spacer. Crochet downward until you reach just before the stitch marker at the corner. When you get to the corresponding position, here pick up the chain space at the corner. Make 1 double crochet, then 2 chains and 1 double crochet. Move the stitch marker to the space above. Continue picking up stitches and crocheting double crochets. There is a ch2 spacer between stitches. At the stitch marker, make 1 double crochet in the position of the beginning chain. Now the 4th row is completed. Continue with H5. Start with 3 chains as the beginning chain. Place a marker. Then turn over. Pick up stitches and correspondingly crochet double crochets with 2 chains between stitches. Here, the beginning chain corresponds to the double crochet at the edge. For the 2nd stitch, insert into the adjacent double crochet. When you reach the corner mesh, crochet the mesh into the space. First, make 1 double crochet. Then chain 2. Make another double crochet. Move the stitch marker to the space of the mesh above. Continue picking up stitches, correspondingly crochet double crochets, with 2 chains between stitches. For the last stitch, crochet into the position marked by the stitch marker earlier. By now, you've finished crocheting the edge. Crochet downward with a ch2 spacer. Make another double crochet in the same position. This is equivalent to adding one mesh. Continue crocheting for the extended part. Crochet 11 chains next. Then fasten off the yarn. Use the color of the next row. At the fasten off point, on the 11th chain of the previous 11 chains, pick up 2 strands to join the yarn. Then crochet 13 chains. Place a marker on the last stitch. This completes H. Move on to H6. Start with 2 chains. Turn over. Pick up the 4th stitch from the bottom of the extended part. Crochet 1 double crochet into it. With a ch2 spacer. Skip 2 chains below. Crochet 1 double crochet. Work 2 chains between the double crochets. When you reach the double crochet, pick up the stitch and a crochet. Continue working. Keep going until you reach the double crochet before the corner. You've reached the corresponding position. Continue working 1 mesh. On this double crochet, after completing it, work 2 chains. Then pick up the corner space to crochet the mesh. Move the stitch marker here to the corresponding mesh above. Continue with 1 double crochet in the same position. 2 chains. Pick up the next stitch and continue crocheting. When you reach the stitch marker, correspondingly make 1 double crochet. Finally, fasten off the yarn. At this point, H6 is completed. Next, work on H7. On the wrong side of the previous row, join the yarn at the last stitch. Start with 3 chains as the beginning chain. Chain 2 as the spacer. You can mark the beginning chain for reference. This makes it easier to find the insertion point for the last stitch later. Crochet the mesh by picking up the corresponding double crochet below. At the corner, pick up the chain space to crochet the mesh. After completing the mesh, remember to mark the corner space promptly. You can refer to the chart. In the next row, the corners are the positions where you need to crochet meshes in. Additionally, the corner spaces only change when increasing meshes next to the corners. When working even without increases or decreases, the corners are always crocheted into the corner spaces from the previous row. As you continue, refer to the chart. Crochet all the way down to the marker placed at the edge of the previous row. Add 1 mesh at the edge. That means crocheting 2 chains and 1 double crochet. Then continue working on the extension part. Start by making 15 chains. At this point, H7 is completed. Move on to H8. Begin with 3 chains as the beginning chain. Mark the stitch. Turn over. Continue crocheting the corresponding meshes. For the subsequent chains, pick up the top back single strand of each chain. At the double crochets, pick up the stitch. At the corners, refer to the chart for crocheting and mark it properly. Crochet all the way down to the edge stitch of the previous row. Complete the edge stitch. H8 is now completed at this point. Fasten off the yarn. For H9 H18 of size S, there are no additional extensions needed. Just crochet back and forth in the corresponding area of the previous row. For size M and size L, the first 8 rows, use the exact same crocheting method as size S for the extended side. At H9, size M is crocheted into a right angle shape. At H15, size L is crocheted into a right angle shape. When picking up stitches along the edges of each row here, insert into the top of the beginning chain, and the double crochet stitch. When crocheting later, at some rows corners, you will need to add meshes. The corner spaces will change. Everyone should promptly refer to the chart and mark them. After crocheting a few rows, check the number of meshes. While crocheting, pay attention to switching colors. After completing the beginning chain for each row, place a marker on the third stitch. This makes it easier to find the insertion point at the end of the next row. For the second stitch, insert into the second stitch from the left. When changing colors, be mindful of the direction. Always join the new yarn on the wrong side of the previous row. The piece will have one row facing right, and the next row facing left, creating a staggered texture. Moving forward, everyone should refer to the chart. Complete the first 18 rows for size S, the first 24 rows for size M, and the first 30 rows for size L. After completing these, crochet the next row. At the end of this row, you'll need to work a DC2 tog. To begin, refer to the chart to join the yarn. Then crochet up to the position just before the last mesh double crochet. Here, I'll use this sample swatch for the demonstration. I've already reached the corresponding position. Now, work a DC2 tog. Pick up the adjacent double crochet. Work an incomplete double crochet. Yarn over, insert, yarn over and pull through. Then yarn over and draw through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops remaining on the hook. This is an incomplete double crochet. Next, pick up the beginning chain, and work an incomplete double crochet. Now there are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through once. That completes the DC2 tog. At this point, the methods for H19 of size S, H25 of size M, and H31 of size L have been explained. For the remaining rows in each size, just continue crocheting meshes back and forth. After finishing, fasten off the yarn. Refer to the chart to crochet the remaining part. Hide the yarn tails of the edges inside the piece. Make sure to hide each tail in a section with the corresponding color. You can hide it for a few extra times if needed. Here's the yarn tail. You can also hide it while joining as you go later. This completes the explanation of crocheting the front piece. Follow the same method, and crochet another front piece. Next, I will explain how to crochet the back piece. The method is similar to the front piece. However, there's no need for extension here. Start with a foundation chain, and work rows of meshes back and forth. After crocheting a few rows, continue in a right angle shape for some rows along the edges and corners. You'll need to increase the meshes. At the end of certain rows, work DC2 tog. Additionally, at the beginning of some rows, decrease by 1 mesh. To decrease, after making the beginning chain, simply work a double crochet into the adjacent stitch. Refer to the chart while crocheting. Pay attention to the corners and mark them in time. After crocheting a few rows, check the mesh count against the chart. Once completed, fasten off the yarn and weave in the ends. You will need to crochet 2 back pieces in total. That concludes the explanation of how to crochet the back piece. Next, we will join the front and back pieces. Start by crocheting 1 row in a right angle shape. Use this to join the front and back pieces together. This is the first joining. Then join the underarms and shoulders of the front and back pieces separately. Start with the first joining. For this step, I will demonstrate using a sample swatch. Pick up 1 front piece and 1 back piece. Place the corner on the right side. Then join the yarn above the last row of the back piece. Then join the yarn on the last row of the back piece. Next, crochet meshes respectively. At the corner space, crochet the mesh as well. Crochet all the way down to just before the edge mesh of the back piece. Everyone should crochet to the corresponding position first. I have already reached the corresponding position here. Next, pick up the mesh on the edge of the back piece and the corner space of the front piece. Work a DC2 tog. Then continue picking up the remaining part of the front piece and crochet the mesh. After finishing 1 stitch at the edge, remember to check the quantity of the meshes at this point. That concludes the explanation for the first joining of the front and back pieces. Here you can fasten off the yarn and weave in the ends. Next, move on to join the underarms. Mark the joining area here first. Locate the corresponding side of the front and back pieces. Start from the mesh where the decrease was made at the corner. Count the corresponding number of meshes upward on the front piece. On the back piece, count the rows upward from the last row. Then mark the position where the mesh and row numbers correspond. The specific number of rows and the quantity of meshes here should refer to the structure diagrams of the corresponding sizes. This is the area that needs to be joined. We will use a new stitch technique, single crochet. Watch as I demonstrate. I'll continue demonstrating with the sample swatch. Place the pieces facing each other. Then position the front piece facing you. At the marked space on the right side, pass through both the front and back spaces to join the yarn. Make one chain as your beginning chain. The beginning chain for single crochet here does not count as one stitch. Next, insert into the same space, and make one single crochet. While crocheting here, you can place the previous yarn tail above the hook, and weave it in as you work. You can now remove the stitch marker. Yarn over and draw the yarn through. Now there are 2 loops on your hook. This is an incomplete single crochet. Then yarn over and draw through all loops on the hook. The single crochet is now complete. In the same space, make one more single crochet. Moving forward, pick up the spaces of the front and back pieces. Crochet using the method of making 2 single crochets in each space. The mesh counts on both sides are not matched up here. On the front piece, follow the pattern of 2 single crochets per space. On the back piece, you can pick up the approximately corresponding chain spaces. Continue crocheting. Pay attention to hiding the previous yarn tail as you crochet. After crocheting the last chain space, proceed to fasten off. This completes the underarm joining on one side. For the other underarm of the front and back pieces, join using the same method. Pay attention to the direction when joining here. Place the corner of the piece facing left. Ensure it is symmetrical with the previous corner direction of the front and back pieces. Then join on the wrong side. Make sure the final join position stays on the wrong side. This concludes the explanation of the underarm joining method. Next, we will explain the shoulder joining. The method is the same as the underarm joining. Match up the front and back pieces. Then start from the last extended mesh of the front piece. Work single crochets to join each rose edge mesh of the front and back pieces. For convenience in finding the correct position, you can also join inward from the mesh on the edge of the piece to the extended meshes of the front piece. Note that the joining should always be on the same side, where the underarm was previously crocheted. This means all joinings are on the wrong side. Everyone, please pay attention, and don't get the direction wrong. The remaining part of the back piece does not need to be joined. Please complete it. At this point, the explanation of the joining parts for the front and back pieces is finished.